Hello, Starlings.
Welcome to Twin Stars, a show where cosmic wisdom meets everyday magic.
We're your hosts. I'm Josie, astrologer, artist, self proclaimed chakra pagan, and the feral creatrix behind Basic Witch. I'm here to host you at my hearth of cyclical ritual and paint you a portrait of the magical universe that reflects each of our divine spirits.
And I'm Jamie, astrologer, hypnotist, Akashic record reader, and the mystical CEO behind the House of Mage. I help you align with the rhythms of the moon, rewire your inner world, and awaken the part of you that was written in the stars and etched in the records of your soul.
We created this podcast to guide you, our fellow starlings, through astrology, energy, and the unseen forces shaping our lives.
So, wherever you are, take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart, let it soften, let it open. Receive what resonates and let the rest drift away. Listen to the whispers of your soul. Let's begin. Hey, Josie, welcome to our first episode of Twin Stars. Are you so excited?
I am so excited and a little nervous. And I just feel like the buzz from the summer coming on strong. It's very much an energy that I notice. I'm like more inclined to the quiet of winter. So when this starts to kick in, I can feel it full force. But I will say I'm enjoying it maybe more than I ever have.
Nice. I love that. Um, I always feel like the heightened time, like the summer solstice, to me, it always kind of like gets me back in my rhythm, especially like if I've been doing ritual throughout the year or not. There's something about summer solstice that always brings me back into rhythm every year, regardless. So there's always something happening there. So I'm always like, this is always like one of my more like witchy times of the year. But then also, it becoming cancer season, that cardinal water emotional time. I cry a lot during cancer season. So I'm always like, oh, here's my emotional time of year. Can't wait. Josie, I think that you describe our origin story so well. Can you please describe the soul contract that sparked this podcast?
Yeah. So we were in kindergarten together, and I was in the same place from kindergarten until pretty much high school, and I only went a few miles down the road in high school. So I have these distinct memories of this small group of people in a small town. And you were there in kindergarten, and you're like my favorite person, and we were super good friends at school. And you ended up moving away in first grade, but I remembered you vividly for years and years to come. So here we are, 6 years old, and no, we were five actually. We started kindergarten at 5. You don't even turn 6 until first grade. Um, so we were 5 years old, and I remember you so well. And then you went away, and I was sad. And then we met again in junior high because we basically became the friends of the same friend group, who was like this little group of witches, and we all just were hanging out together all the time. And I was like, I remember you, and I told you, and you seemed very flattered by that, and I loved it. But it was like we connected that way, but we sort of were just people who hung out together because of the group. So we never even really got like much one-on-one time, but we had this like sort of kindred spirits thing going on from just having met and spent time together as small children, regardless of how much we can even remember of that. It happened. So that was how it all kind of began for me, with feeling like you're my twin star.
That's so cute. Um, yeah, and then like how the podcast kind of evolved was that, so many years later, far many more years than I'm going to let you guys know about. We're in a group chat, and you said something about like wanting to do astrology, and like I immediately like perk up because I'm obsessed with astrology. Like not a little obsession, like a major obsession. So, I start talking to you about it on the side. I'm like, so like how serious are you? Because there's some people that are like, yeah, I know my sun sign, and that's as far as it goes. And no shade, we all come in at different times. Or we all like, practice our things differently. But I was trying to like gauge on like your interest level and how serious you were about it. And I of course had to get your specs. So I'm like putting them in the phone and I'm like, oh my God, we have the same rising sign, but more importantly, the same degree. And my like instantly, I was like, this is it. We need to have a podcast. It was like all that information came in it in that moment because in my belief, the most uniquely personal placement is the rising sign because it's what was dawning on the east of when you were born. So it was like that dawning energy. And for us to have the same thing at the same degree, I was like, this is it.
Pretty
Like
cool.
this is it. So, um, as soon as I found that out, I knew that you were going to be my podcast partner, but you didn't know that. So I had to like low key, like kind of ask you around your birthday, and you agreed, like, but I just wasn't sure like if you were really going to be into it too much because during the height around your birthday, it's like you're focused, you're pulled in different directions.
Mm.
And it was really exciting that like as we continued and pursued things that we were like really kindred spirits in this and we did want to do a podcast together and we had no idea how similar but different we are.
Mhm.
And I think so much of that has to do with like all of our fixed energy. We're both Scorpio rising. I have a Leo sun. You have an Aquarius sun. You have a Taurus moon. I have Aquarius moon. So like our main three are so fixed.
Mhm.
And the puzzle pieces just fit so beautifully, but are dynamically different too, which I think is just so perfect. Um, but like one thing that, in the overall scheme of stuff, like why the podcast right now for you? Like why did you hear that and you were like, yes, this is it?
I feel like what was happening is I sort of had like my, like honestly, it was like my nodal return happened a few years ago, and then I started shaking everything up, turning the hourglass upside down again, kind of thing. It's like the second half, coming into the second half of everything, and I was like really wanting to go to this place, and actually, interestingly enough, I kind of have been looking for somebody to work with. So you finally were the person who was like on that level with me, and that was really cool. But the when you called me on my birthday, I've been like for a year now really into making sure that I align my energy with the winter solstice, summer solstice, equinoxes of spring and fall, and then eventually get into doing all 8 of those spokes on that wheel. But lining myself up with that, it felt very much like what I was asking for in the winter solstice was what you were presenting when you came at me with this in January at around my birthday. So it was like your timing was very serendipitous. Um I mean, and if you can call when someone's just waiting for that to show up serendipitous, I think you can. But I was waiting for somebody to show up who was gonna like work with me. And then it happened to be you, my favorite little kindergartner. And you're like, we're doing this. And I was like, great. I needed the balance. I needed somebody to do it with. I needed somebody to get out on this page with me. And I like just got really into astrology in the past few years. I'm working more on art in general. And I'm really ready to share all of that instead of coming from, I did spend like a lot of time in the hospitality industry, and I'm very happy about that. But sometimes you get to that north or that nodal return and you're like, it's time for a big change. I've done one thing and now it's time to do something else. So to me, I feel like a lot of the timing has to do with the nodal returns that we've been through.
Yeah, and I think like the reason that this was so resonant, like not only did I see like the call of you just like being my twin star out there in the universe, like wanting similar things to me, but also like I know that like over the course, because like we've talked about this, where you know over the course of the past however many years you were having so much more of awakening and like really living the spiritual life, so not just like being partly interested but like that is who you are. And for me, it was much more of, and is much more of, coming out of the broom closet. Like I have always been this person, and anyone that's really close to me has known of, the psychic abilities or like the healings and all of this stuff, but like the outer world has not known that. And that was one of the greatest gifts in being able to do this with you, is that I have like my kindergarten friend holding my hand and like you being like, Jamie, it's okay, we can do this. And I'm like, yeah, we can. We don't have to be scared. And like, I just think it's really, really great that we get to do this together because, not only do we get to just like talk about stuff that we totally love and like live our magic, but we get to do it together. And like,
Right.
that's such a twin vibe.
Yeah, it absolutely
Twinning.
is.
I love it.
Yeah, and to the point that we balance each other out, it's really interesting because I feel like you have a lot of really deep, like spiritual intuition and psychic connection, whereas I don't really have that psychic part, really. I'm just diligent. I'm like a diligent witch. Got I really knew that's what I wanted as a child, and I have show and tell for this because this book was like a book I had when I was a little kid, and it just made me feel like that's who I am. I didn't have to come out of the broom closet because I was like already doing the thing when I was a little girl and identifying as such as a child. But I don't have that, like I didn't have that psychic connection that you have that like kept you there in spite of the fact that you're like, oh, I'm just a normal person over here, don't pay attention to me. But like you can't run from that. That's in you no matter what you do or how normal your life looks or how far out into, you know, modern society you go. That's you're communicating with energies and spirits in a way that's like not very many people are. And that's like, again, I feel like that's totally accurate about us balancing each other out because I'm like the cheerleader who's like, this is what we're doing. And you're like, I've had a vision. So it really like kind of goes together.
Okay, so like as our resident pagan, you have a lot of info on the summer solstice. So please enlighten us, my queen.
The thing about it is that like there's the really obvious stuff, but like the most important stuff is often to do with what we've learned from like traditions of pagans in the past. And I think both you and I are like pretty attached to the sort of Celtic and Druidic traditions of the Wheel of the Year. And I do like to read up on like what the Romans did and what Egyptians are into. And I haven't gone as deep into any Eastern traditions, but I really appreciate that there's a lot of similarities between Eastern traditions as well. And even if you get into like the indigenous beliefs around the cycles of the year, the Northern Hemisphere, you'll find the similarities over and over again. And I imagine that's true in the Southern Hemisphere too, although I haven't gotten into that realm ever really. But so what it's about is it's like this cycle is coming from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, and then the summer solstice to the winter solstice. And in between each of those, there's all these different points that are essentially seasons. But the summer solstice is the point of the year that is aligned with the concepts of the full moon and the midday sun and the most productive time of the year and the most busy time of the year and the time where we're really tapped in to sounds around us and weather patterns, and we're kind of operating with a buzz. And so the summer solstice for me is really about that vibrational level. And I've also taken as I introduce myself, a self-proclaimed chakric pagan, is I've overlaid the chakric system onto the 8 Sabbats that are traditional in both Celtic, well, I guess Druidic, and a lot of different like Northern Europe traditions all kind of have a similar wheel of the year that's between like 4 and 8 seasons depending on how they divide it up. But those seasons, especially from the Celtic, even I use the language usually with the way I call them. Litha would be the summer solstice. So Litha, we align each of those with a chakra, and then the 8th one is like a blank space or the Kundalini energy in between the chakras. And so the way I've overlaid that is that the first chakra is the winter solstice. And when you get to the summer solstice, you're dealing with 5th chakra energy. The 5th chakra is purification, sound, communication, creativity, and synthesis of ideas into symbols, and also the concept of like sound into light, and you're moving from the heart to the throat, and the throat moves up to the 3rd eye next. So this is the bridge between your body or your heart and your mind, essentially, is your throat chakra. And the summer is a kind of a bridge between those energies as well. The midsummer specifically. And if you look at other things that are more like based in reality and the world that we exist in that's very material, we have a lot of like social justice movements happen in the summer between June and July. And a lot of, everyone likes to go to concerts in the summer, which is very superficial level of sort of that like up energy and sound being super important. And then in moon traditions throughout different indigenous like traditions of the Americas, there's going to be a lot of interesting tie-ins there too, because the moon for the new moon that we're actually talking about today, the new Cancer moon, that kind of is in line with the summer solstice and sets the tone for that midsummer period. It is going to be called the thunder moon in the Western Abenaki, which is an eastern woodlands of North America tribe. And so they were in the area of Maine, Vermont, Quebec, and New Hampshire. They spoke Algonquin, I believe, according to what I read. And their moon was the thunder moon. And the thunder moon creates that concept of like sound turning into light and ideas becoming like energy and real and manifesting into real chemical matter. And we're coming from the bird moon. I don't remember where I got the bird moon from, but it was an indigenous reference to the moon cycle. That's the one we're coming from. So we're moving from the concept of like chirping and communicating to thunder as a form of communication and energy conversion and energy transfer. And so to me, the summer solstice is mostly about that, like this energy transfer and sort of uplifting your energy and figuring out where you need to stay busy, where you need to be a busy bee. There's always rest when it gets cold. Even bees slow down everything slows down when it gets cold. But we want to take that energy on of how these natural rhythms bring us up and into a place where we're getting stuff done and we're experiencing each other. And that goes into some like of the thing where people are into like the concepts of fairies. because the fairies are very active and the spirits are very active during the summer solstice when it's the shortest night of the year. It's a big time to commune with spirits for a lot of different traditions.
I had a question. So when you talk about like the different moons,
Uh-huh.
so like the thunder moon, is it like so there was an indigenous tribe or that's what they called it and that's where you associated with it. So you kind of move throughout like the whole Native Americans, like Northern American cultures, and that's where you're getting those different like moon names. Is that correct? Or
It's
where do you get
so
those?
I actually should mention also that when I um look for moon meanings, I actually use the Farmer's Almanac on the internet, and they put out an almanac every year, and it's like farmersalmanac.com. Oh, I should probably check that on
Yeah,
exactly
but it's
what
just the
it is,
Farmer's
but
Almanac for sure.
yeah, it's the Farmer's Almanac, and they have little dial or monologues about each moon cycle, and they reference indigenous tribes throughout the Americas um as their resource for where they're getting these concepts of tying the moons to all these different energies and experiences of throughout the year. So once I check and see, once I've seen all the possibilities and all the different varieties of moons, I often find one that is very much resonating with this concept of overlaying chakras onto the pagan wheel of the year. And so in that, given that there's so often, not so often, every time there's a native reference to the moon cycle that very much aligns with the concepts of energy in the chakric system from the east, and then in the pagan systems that we reference from the British Isles mostly, there's like so much overlap from one to the other. And so that's when I start to go into more like I want to make sure I know which tribe and which culture the moon is coming from. And so that's when I go into like sort of looking into who the Western Abenaki are. Those are the people who called it the thunder moon, and the summer moon of July is essentially the thunder moon based on their traditions. And again, their region was eastern woodlands of North America. So it was Maine, Vermont, Quebec, New Hampshire, and they were around this nice water area as a tribe and as a group of people. They're their own culture, of course. Um, and they are the ones who referred to it as the thunder moon, which I'm sure is apropos for the region too, because they're going to get a lot of thunderstorms up there in the summer months.
That we have come to a section, the practical magic section of the pod. And this is like where we're gonna kind of like make the mystical and make it a little bit more tangible for your everyday life. As we're basking in the sunlight of the summer solstice, that is really like telling us or calling us to shine bright like the sun. So, to anchor that energy, what we did is we created like a cute little like grimoire. It's going to be located in the show notes. So if you want to go in there, it's going to be a step-by-step kind of ritual that will help you really anchor in these energies. And it's nothing like so serious or complicated, like think candlelight intention and your radiance. Um, one of the most important things whenever you're doing any kind of magical thing, it's not necessarily about the performance of it because it's really easy to get caught in your head about it. But it's just like the presence that you bring to it. And when you do more and more magical things, you'll discover that it's not something that you do, but it's something that you are. You are magical. And by doing these types of things, you make every act a magical act. Like combing your hair or putting on your makeup can be um, a ritual of devotion. And saying no can be a spell of sovereignty. Or lighting a candle can be a doorway to the divine. So all of those little moments, they're there to not only just like transform you into your magical self, but also to help you consciously evolve so that you are evolving your consciousness. And, you know, as we have so many magical things, we're like stepping into this portal right now. It's the height of summer. We have summer solstice. In a week, we're going to have a new moon in Cancer. So, like, what that's really bringing forward is this beautiful time and watery invitation of like where you want to plant those seeds of emotional truth and really get rooted in that soul kind of level of security. So, you know, in the weeks to come, especially this week, feel all the feels. There's going to be a lot. And when it comes to the solstice, that is, you know, bringing forward what wants to shine
Mm.
and what wants to rise.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to the new moon, it's about like where do you want to soften and where do you want to begin again? So, you
Especially the
know,
new moon in Cancer for softening.
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry if did I say the wrong thing?
No, you said the right thing. I was just
Oh,
accentuating that the new moon in Cancer is a quintessential
mm,
softening new moon. Um,
yes.
I mean, new moon energy is kind of about softening anyway, because it's like that opposite energy to a full moon. And full moons are like more like summer solstice. Another balance here. We've got cardinal water in moving into the Cancer cycle comes right during the time when the sun stands still. So it's solar stillness with cardinal water, like the stillness of fire with the movement of water, which is like a really good balance energetically. And it is about extremes during the solstice. Like it's like the balance is in extremes, not in things being centered so much, but being a lot of one thing and a lot of another.
Yeah. And one of the things I always love is that even though like the sun being at the height, you know, that really takes like the focus where you're really paying attention to like all the sun. But really it's just like all of this where there's the paradox of like, okay, in that moment that it is at its max, it then starts to wane and go down. So like in that moment of potency, it starts to become weak. And I feel like that is like just such a beautiful like duality to embody. Like we have to embody like one thing isn't enough anymore. You have to hold like so many different things these days.
So many
But
spaces.
so many phases. But you know, if you do any of the rituals and you like get the grimoire from our show notes, you know, please tag us. We want to see what you're doing, how your magic is in motion, and yeah, we should like do ours and tag ours. It'll be cute. And
Mhm.
one thing that I like to say to myself is like a little affirmation is like you are the spell, you are the ritual, and your life is your altar. So make of it what you will.
And with that, let's get into some oracle reading. I am really into cards, so I have all the different kinds of decks, and not even tarot today, really. I have cards that are coming from the Wild Unknown Alchemy by Kim Kranz. I have cards from the Wild Unknown Alchemy by Kim Kranz. I also have cards from another Kim Kranz deck, which is the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Guide. And then I do Marcella Kroll, whose book I don't have. I have a PDF instead, but this is the cards. And she does sacred symbols. And we have cards from hers. So those are oracle cards called sacred symbols. And then one more that I like to include and this is basically seasonal and moon readings. We'll pick a card for today because we like the spontaneity, but I have four cards to tell you about. Two of them are summer solstice related, and two of them are new moon related for the Cancer new moon, which is the focus of this episode, being that the practical magic Midsummer ritual is tied into the Cancer new moon as well. And so the last cards that I'll show you are going to be the medicine cards, and that's like the the book from 1988. It's Jamie Sams and David Carson. It's an old one, but a goodie. It's an oldie but a goodie. And so what we do with these is I pull 2 cards for the summer solstice. What we ended up with was Raven's Head, which is great because the summer solstice happens in the time of the bird moon and then goes into thunder moon. And we have Affluence from the Marcella Kroll Sacred Symbols. Affluence is definitely a good thing to focus on right now. You're coming from the heart chakra to the throat chakra, and we want to think about abundance and just really having everything we need to be what we need to be in the world and show up the way we need to show up. And that is definitely like summer solstice vibes. And it's definitely moving from the heart chakra to the throat chakra. So those are the 2 cards that we have for the summer solstice. And I will say also that the Raven's Head is about initiation and work beginning and traveling light so that you can really kind of get where you're going quickly at this time of year. The new moon I pulled very different energies for, which I'm really happy about. The golden egg is a really good one from going from heart chakra to throat chakra. It's the unstruck sound and the message at the center of the heart. And we have a lot of that going on this year in particular. We had a lot of Venus stuff happening. And then on top of that, the golden egg is a great summer solstice card because it's sort of representative of the sun. And then
And the golden disc, like that's such a
yeah,
huge motif in summer solstice is like
exactly.
you'll see that golden disc. So like to even see that yellow egg, that's kind of like perfect in both because like when you also have an egg, you have that mothering kind of like it's in a nest, it's
Yeah.
home, it's security, it's tent, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Literally nestled in the heart chakra is like the words. I think that's what Kim Krans said in her golden egg thing was nestled in the heart chakra. So yeah, like you're going from this maternal energy to sort of like speaking out and using your voice. And it's like that shining, you want that shining energy coming from here to get you out in the world you need to be in. And then the last one for the new moon of Cancer, that it will be its cycle. The thunder moon goes from the new moon in Cancer until the next new moon. And that other energy was going to be the fox from the medicine cards book. Wait, there you go.
Those medicine, like for whatever reason, it kind of like gives me the chills in like a good
Yeah.
way.
I know, right? Okay, so here's the medicine card. We have the fox for that one. And the fox is about oneness through camouflage. So you're going like back into this cardinal water theme of like the sun is shining, but then parts of you want invisible. And in the concept of like having the shortest night of the year, a lot of energies are invisible because of that. And again, you go back to the balance of like 2 extremes. So you've got like the golden egg and the fox is like blending in and listening, and the golden egg is like shining and resonating. And so you're basically looking for the best of both energies instead of, the dark side of each energy. You want the exaltation of the energy during this time of year.
Amazing. I love it. I love the cards.
Yeah.
Is that all of them?
That's all of them that I wanted to talk about so I pull those at the beginning of the year and then I have them for the whole year and focus on the energy as the season and or the moon comes up. What we want to do today is pull a card we haven't seen yet because like I said, that spontaneity is really good. And so we're going to take one from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, Kim Krans, for our podcast. And we're going to use these probably for the rest of the year. I might change it up at the winter solstice. But I like to stick with something for a while. I'm going to give a little shuffle. All right. And so let's pull a card for the day from the Kim Kranz Wild Unknown Alchemy deck. And this is sort of the spontaneous card that we're going to take into the moon cycle ahead in the Cancer new moon. And we got in Creatum, the Uncreated, number 43. And let's find out what it says.
You know, it's really crazy that you like pulled that up and you got that one because to prepare for this today, like
Yeah.
I did my ritual, and what I do is I like get is, you know, big in the universe, and then I pull like puncture that energy that is unmanifest, like that's bigger than everything, and I pull that into myself. So I literally did that to start all of this podcast. So I'm like, I feel like this card was like pulled for me. I was like, oh my God, it's here. You did
You're like, that is it. That's what I'm talking about.
it.
Oh my God, I love it. She says directly, the unconceived and the seed of the seed. The
How
seed of the
perfect.
seed. We like it. That's very twin starry.
And it's also very Cancer, like
So
nurturing, like the
maternal.
mothering, and you know,
So maternal.
so maternal.
It's a potent time to create and conceive, even if you feel you are starting from scratch. Begin anyway. There was a time when everyone you know was not yet born, when every city was yet to be named, and when your favorite song was yet to be sung. Such is the energy of In Creatum. This card indicates the subtle but profound force that summons all that will be into existence. This most sacred of formulas cannot be manufactured, contained, bought, or sold. It is the pure intelligence of creation pulsing at the door of reality. Its timing is precise, and it is happening now. Do not delay. Send an invitation to the uncreated and allow it to formulate and gestate.
Oh my God. Well, that could not have been like a better card for episode 1. I feel like there are so many blessings for here, like just, you know, at the inception of this. And I'm just so full of gratitude, especially like when you were going through all those cards. Like I really just kind of felt my heart glowing, which is such a great place to be. So
Golden egg energy right there. Was glowing.
totally golden egg. Totally. So what's to come this season? We're gonna do episodes where we explore lunar living, astrology, deep dives, myths, meditation, and we're gonna have special guests as well.
And the next episode is going to be Lunar Royals. Crown yourself at the new moon in Leo.
Everyone, thank you for joining us. Thanks for being in the stars with us today. If something sparked, stirred, or lit you up,
Share the magic, leave a review, follow the show, and invite others to join our celestial circle.
you can find me at House of Mage, wherever you like to scroll, watch, or read the stars.
And you can connect with me at Basic Witch on Instagram for art, ritual, and a little everyday witchery.
Until next time, Starlings, trust your rhythm, honor your magic, and listen to the whispers of your soul. Bye.
Bye.